Hey guys, so in today's video, I thought that I would take the time to discuss what is included in a sleep tech note. And first of all, I just want to kind of explain what a sleep tech note is. So basically, as part of our job duties as a sleep tech, when we are running a sleep study, at the end of the study, there is a note that we have to complete. So it basically kind of gives a general overview of what happened during the sleep study and kind of what our recommendations are as the sleep tech, so that when the doctor goes to interpret the sleep study, whenever he gets a chance to do so, then he can quickly look at what our notes are and get an idea of what might be wrong, if there are any comorbid conditions or things like that that he needs to be made aware of that might affect the way that a person sleeps, or stuff with their sleep hygiene and things like that. So I figured in this video it would be helpful for me to share what we actually include in our sleep tech note at the end of a sleep study. So what I will normally do is, as the night goes on, I will keep adding things to this sleep tech note as the sleep study goes on. So I'm not just waiting until the very last minute to complete this, because there are certain things that are included in this sleep tech note that I can get from their chart. I can get from reviewing the visit notes from when they actually had their consultation with either the sleep doctor or the nurse practitioner who also sees sleep and pulmonology patients. So I have a template in Epic where I can just type in my little quick text and it'll pull up this whole template. So I'm going to try to go from the top and try to remember everything that is included and kind of give you guys an explanation of why we might include that in the sleep tech note. So at the very top would be neuro. So what we're looking for there is going back into their chart and looking to see if they have any neurological issues, such as headaches, depression, anxiety, if they have a history of stroke, things like that, because stuff like that is important to know, because certain things can be affected by either use or non-use of devices. And so it's just helpful to know things like that, because then as the doctor is dictating, he can say this is a such and such age, male or female, with a history of stroke or whatever the case may be. So then we are also looking at their EKG. So we have the EKG running throughout the night. It is one of the leads that we include in the sleep study. So we normally have either two EKG leads here and here, or we have two EKG leads here and then like under the breast area, kind of like a seatbelt. I've mentioned this in previous videos. So with that section, we are letting the doctor know if it was normal sinus rhythm or if we noticed like AFib or anything out of the ordinary, stuff like that. We are also looking for PLMs, which is periodic limb movements. So we will say if the person had PLMs, we will usually rate like the severity. So either mild PLMs, intermittent, moderate, or severe. Or if they didn't have PLMs, then we will say none. Some people just tend to leave it blank. I will actually write none on there, so then they know that I didn't just skip over that step. They know that there was none. So then we are also looking at respiratory. So this would be a spot where I would put if they have any respiratory conditions that exist, whether it is like cystic fibrosis or COPD, emphysema, things like that. If they have nothing, I will just put their AHI, which is the apnea hypopnea index. I will put that there. The sleep doctor kind of knows that I do that because I do that on home tests as well. If they do have respiratory conditions, I will still put the AHI there, but I tend to highlight it so that it sticks out a little bit better, if that makes sense. when the doctor is reviewing it. So I will put their respiratory conditions, and then I'll put the AHI at the end, but I will highlight it, like I said, so it sticks out to him so he can glance at it and see that that is what the AHI was. Not that in the report itself, he can't look and see what the AHI and the RDI was, which is a respiratory disturbance index, I believe is what the D stands for. But I tend to put that in the tech note as well, just so that he can see that without having to go and look through the sleep study itself if he's in a hurry. We will also put, what was next? Now I can't remember what was next. So we will also put their saturations. So with sleep studies, we like to put the lowest DSAT, which is a desaturation. So how far the oxygen level dropped throughout the night. So say, for example, Miss Betty is getting a sleep study and her lowest DSAT was 82%. So she dropped down to 82% of oxygen saturation. So we would put low DSAT, 82%, and then we would also put the baseline. So if her baseline was 92%, then we would put baseline 92. So I will put the low DSAT first so he can see that is a very important thing. He can see the low DSAT, but then he can also see what the baseline is right after. And then from there, we have an objective and a subjective area. The objective area, I tend to talk about what happened during the sleep study. I give an overview from the office visit or why the person is coming in to have the sleep study done in the first place. So it could be anything from the patient states that they, or patient has a history of insomnia lasting blah, 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 however long or whatever the issue. So I will put that, and then during titration study, patient experienced this, or this happened with patient, something like that. It's just kind of giving a brief overview of what happened during the sleep study, if it was a titration study, if they were switched from CPAP to bi-level or CPAP to bi-level, failed bi-level, then went to ASV, just giving all of that information, like I said, for the sleep doctor to go over. And then with the subjective part, with those questionnaires that we ask in the morning time and at bedtime, I wait until I ask them the questions in the morning, and then I kind of let the doctor know if the patient says anything pertinent to the sleep study. I will also let him know if they said that this was a normal night of sleep for them, or if they said that, they got less sleep than they normally did, or their sleep was just horrible here compared to at home. I will let him know that as well. And then after the subjective, that's usually the last part that I do, but there are two other things included. So after the subjective, there is a spot for tech recommendations. So if, for example, we're doing a PSG, which is a polysomnogram, I will say, like, if the person needs CPAP, I will say recommend APAP 6 to 16 EPR2, which is basically just the settings on a machine. We tend to not use CPAP, we use the APAP instead, which is still the same device, but the settings are a little bit different because it will auto titrate based on what the person needs for pressure to open up that airway. So like I said, we tend to order APAP for our patients so they're not just on a straight pressure, which might not work for them. So say we order 6 to 16 and the person needs a pressure of 12. If we were to just order 10, they're not getting enough pressure to properly take care of that airway to get them enough oxygen at night. So that's why we order the APAP compared to CPAP. So I will write whatever the recommendations are. Usually for kids, I will say recommend follow up with provider, may need referral to ENT if they had any events, because any events for kids I feel like should count, which they don't always, but I feel like any events for kids should count. And usually when the kids come in to see us, it's because they're trying to see if they need to get their tonsils and adenoids removed. So that is normally the process. So that's why I say may need referral to ENT. And then underneath that, there is a section for DME. So there are a couple of DME providers in our area. There are more than that, but the main two that we use are ABC Rotech or Lincare. Some people have to go through the VA, obviously. Other people use other providers. Some people order their supplies online. It just kind of depends on what the person has as a preference. But in that section, I will put whatever DME they choose to go with. So when we go to put the order in, then we know that this is where the person wanted that order sent to. So anyways, that is pretty much it for what goes into a sleep tech note. If you guys have any questions or would like me to expand on any information that I shared in this video, I would be more than happy to do so. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this was helpful, and I will talk to you guys in my next video.